Criterion values, criterion values, criterion values. Because that's at the heart of every single being on the planet. It's what drives their feelings, and it's what drives their behaviors. A person cannot talk about their values without experiencing some level of emotional either pleasure or connection. Conversely, they cannot have their values violated without experiencing some level of emotional pain. Now, the degree of emotional pain a person is willing to tolerate is largely dependent on their self-esteem and self-worth. Okay? But the fastest way to get rid of anybody is to violate their values. Period. Okay? This is why this is a radioactive nuclear piece. Now, the biggest problem that people have, and every class in NLP teaches criterion values, but because of the way they teach it, people don't realize where the power really is. Criterion values drives the bus. Everything we're going to do in terms of linguistic communication is going to in some way activate and stimulate that criterion value checklist inside of them. Criterion values have three components. Three components. A, there is a checklist, a series of parameters that have to be satisfied. When that checklist is matched, the body generates a feeling. A feeling. And then, once we have that complex of a checklist with the feeling, our neurology and our cognitive side wants to give it a label, a name. Now, why do I make that distinction? It's because two of the three pieces are changeable. In other words, you can change them fairly facilely. You can change a person's values, but you can't change the label they give it. For some reason, when people name something, they fall in love with that label and they will resist changing the label. But you can change the characteristics of it, which is kind of weird, but it's how it works. Now that's advanced stuff. I'll be up front with you. That's advanced down the line stuff. That's like Killer Influence 2 or something like that. Unless you know NLP, in which case you can just move it into a different box and it goes away. But that's a different class for a different day. But at the end of the day, people have a checklist, and when the checklist is matched, they get a feeling. It's either a feeling they like or a feeling they don't like. When they have that feeling, their perceptual filters shift in line to maintain that feeling. The fastest way to change the emotional state of another human being is to change yours. You have this organism, these organs in your body known as mirror neurons. Mirror neurons there's still a lot of exploration to be done on mirror neurons. But mirror neurons literally take the information that comes to you from your proprioception through your five senses, and it actually replays that information in your own neurology. What I mean is, and the way this was discovered, was that there were some researchers in Italy, and I think the book where I found this, his name was Anybody remember what I can never remember the author's name of that book. It's called Mirroring People. Jacoboni.
No. I just got
It's all right. Anyway, you can Google it. We actually have a list. It's on there. But basically, the way that the mirror neurons were accidentally discovered was they had these chimps, or actually they were macaques, or anyway, some form of monkey, strapped into an EEG. And one of the lab assistants was off on the other side of the room peeling a banana. And the monkey, he's sitting in a chair watching the lab assistant peel a banana. And what another lab assistant noticed was, as the chimp was watching this guy peel the banana, all the parts of the chimp's brain and nervous system that would be firing if he was peeling the banana were going off. And that led to the study of understanding that mirror neurons are the biological organ by which we have empathic understanding and intuitive understanding of people. Right? Every time I watch you do something, there's a part of my neurology that's actually mirroring what you're doing. It's firing all the same muscle fibers at a subtle degree, same brain parts, as if I were actually doing the exercise. And that's how we start to create intuitive understanding of what people's intentions are. This is such a powerful faculty that I don't have to see your entire body. Like if I'm watching Seth and I see he's over here, even though I can't see his legs, my my mirror neurons will actually pick up what he's doing with his legs and fire those neurons. It's very cool, right? So these are the phenomena that we're learning to play with. Does that make sense? Okay. So when we start to control people's states, you have to remember the first thing about every human being, regardless of what their criterion values are, they're looking for themselves. The human nervous system is a selfish system. Every single one of you is moving through the world like a little submarine, I guess. You know, submarines have sonar. They ping. They send out a little sound blast, and then the sound bounces back, and then depending on how they interpret it, they know where to go. Your nervous system's doing exactly the same thing. It has a map and a set of criteria about how the way the world is supposed to be, their idealized worldview, and it's moving through the world, projecting it out onto everyone, looking for the match. It's happening on a cognitive level, it's happening on a biological level, it's happening on a molecular level. Okay? Now, as influencers, our job isn't to rewrite the system, it's to hack it. It's to use it, right? I don't make the rules, I just exploit, I report them, right? So, this is where this brings us to our first thing, echo technique. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. It is the hack for every other rapport technique you've ever been taught. Okay? It will make everything you do easy. When in doubt, echo it out. When in doubt, echo it out. Okay? So, whenever you don't know what to say what they just said. Why? First of all, once I get my computer fixed, remember I said that for everything, every context the human being generates, there's a criterion values checklist. Now, in NLP, we would have a very straightforward, rather invasive way of accessing that list. We would ask the person, what's important about X, whatever X happens to be, right? That's what we call direct access of criterion values. But there's another way to do it. And that's through echo technique. Because as we create language, or we have an experience that we're translating into language, it passes through all these filters. And what comes out of our mouth is a product of that filtering process, which means it's been passed through every keyhole that the nervous system has. So if I give you your exact words back, well, it fits that every keyhole on the way in, and it will go right down. The image I often see when we do this way is like, you remember that the original Star Wars when Luke is going down to destroy the Death Star, and he fires that torpedo into the vent, and everything goes kaplooey? When you echo somebody, it goes right down to their criterion values, even if you don't know what their exact criterion values are. It indirectly stimulates those values. At the same time, it matches their process perfectly. It matches their state and manages it perfectly. It is a language pattern, so they hear their own words coming back to them and they feel validated. They feel heard, understood, and that is a feeling that human beings are starving for.